Hello and welcome to the League Two prediction show from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage and with me as always is Mr. Daniel Cody. League Two is where 24 teams battle it out to join the third tier of English football, but unfortunately, 2 teams will get relegated out of the Football League into the National League. And we're deciding who are the top 3, the 4 for the playoffs, and the bottom 2. And we're going to start with the bottom 2 who will go into the National League. And let's start with 24th spot, Mr. Daniel Cody.
In 24th place, I've had to go for Barrow. Now, the reason I've gone for Barrow is, and Craig Savage is just reevaluating his options before our eyes. The reason I've gone for Barrow, look, they were the worst of the teams that survived last year. And although they did really well to stay up, they survived because 2 teams were a mess both on and off the pitch. Let's be honest, they got 44 points, less than a point a game. It's not always going to keep you up. You're relying on 2 teams to have an awful season. Now, the positives, they've appointed Pete Wild from Halifax, who did a remarkable job in the National League last year. He's brought a couple of his star players with him, but Barrow's not in an area of the country, unfortunately, where it's easy for players to relocate and those that want the city life stay to, something that's often talked about with the North East. I hope they stay up because I really like Pete Wild. I think he did an incredible job last season, but from the other side, I really don't want to have to do them in my 92. So I'm sorry, Barrow fans. Partly selfishly and partly for footballing reasons, I'm putting you in the bottom 2. They're the favourites, but it could well work out. It only takes 2 clubs to get themselves in a mess, as we saw last year.
Yeah, I don't see it, though. I don't see many clubs down there to be a huge mess compared to the other 2 that did go down last season. I had Rochdale for 24th. I don't know about Rochdale, much about Rochdale, but something just doesn't seem right with Rochdale. I'll give you a clue, it's Grimsby, because as much as their playoff run was incredible, they got extremely lucky in that. And I just think it may be a season too early for them to bounce back because they did get relegated. Once again, another yo-yo club like we had in Rotherham and Peterborough, that stuff. And also Barrow as well. I forgot how bad Barrow were. I'm going to stick with my original one. I'm going to stick with the original. I'm going to say Rochdale. Sorry, Rochdale fans. It doesn't look pretty for them. 23rd.
Yeah, you mentioned one of the teams I've got in my mix for 23rd. They are one of the favourites this year. Obviously, I predicted them to be in the bottom 2 last year because there was a bit of chaos off the pitch then. They're a club that seemed to be in a downward spiral, and their replacements this year, we've got a couple of over 35s, including a returning Ian Henderson. I think they're going to be very close to the danger line, but not down. Also close, I've got Harrogate 20th because Jack Diamond's left on loan. He was huge for them. It's been a bit of a rejig, but I think they'll survive too. Carlisle I had in the mix. They struggled the first half of last year. 2nd lowest scorers in the league last season. Paul Simpson did a good job to keep them up, but they're relying on youngsters on loan and free agents, basically. Ryan Edmondson from Leeds, Sonny Hilton on loan from Fulham. I think they'll just keep them up because they've got a solid goalkeeper in as well to help them out. Then it's between 2 in 22nd and 23rd. Hartlepool under Paul Hartley because they started really well under Dave Challoner and then they faded massively. Paul Hartley is a decent coach but has brought in a lot of players from Scotland. Callum Cook's a good signing from Bradford. Alex Lacey, a former Luton youth player, obviously came in from Notts County. They lost their top scorer in Molyneux last year and they didn't really score goals before that anyway. They lost Rizos the summer before, and I just feel it might be a culmination. They're basically pinning their survival hopes on a young player, or 25-year-old now, Josh Umrah, who came in from Wildston. Scored loads of goals in the National League last year, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. The only thing that makes me think it might be is Colchester, because they were at the top of that sort of tight bottom half bunch last season, where they were all separated by 2 or 3 points. They had an old squad then. It's even older now. They've added very little quality. All of those players are a year older, and it's whether experience can pull them through. So I brought out something that people who have followed this channel for a number of years may remember from our Nottingham Forest v Luton vlog, which was you and Charlie bringing out the coin of destiny. That time it was to decide where your breakfast meal was going to be. This time it was to decide a place in the Football League for next year. Hartlepool versus Colchester. Tails was Colchester. It landed on tails. Colchester, through the coin of destiny, will be relegated in 23rd on the final day of the season.
I've gone for Harrogate. I feel bad picking Harrogate for this one, but I just feel like that squad is too small to survive for me in League Two. I know they're working within a budget, and I know they do a fantastic job over there at Harrogate, and I've got a lot of respect for them. I really wish I didn't want to pick Harrogate, but I think it'd be the season for them to go, which is a shame. And by the way, Colchester playing Mansfield on the final day. Let's start off with 7th spot in the playoffs. Danny Cody.
Well, that final day fixture could be very crucial given what I've got at the bottom half of the playoffs. Spoiler alert. I had it down to 16 teams that might make it
Sorry, what?
top 7. Look, can I just put a disclaimer on this? We saw last season, the race for the League Two playoffs is the hardest thing to predict in football. There were about 11 teams in it in the final 3 games of the year. And, well, we saw what happened between 3rd and 9th on that final day. Absolute chaos. So missing out in no particular order. Salford haven't done enough. Sutton, I don't think, will be as strong this year. Tranmere signed very young. I don't think they're going to make it. Walsall I put in the mix purely because of Michael Flynn, but not based on the squad. Ironically, I had Grimsby as an outsider for the playoff because, I'm a big fan of John McAtee, but then they lost Ben Fox to Northampton. I'm not sure they've got enough either. Newport faded towards the end of last season, lost their top scorer. They've signed good players, but it's a bit of a gamble. Swindon lost their manager. I'm not sure they're going to make it this year. Crawley Town added Dom Telford from Newport, who scored 25 last year, but I still don't think they've got enough. Stevenage, talking about them at the other end this season, because Steve Evans knows how to win promotion. I thought about it. They've signed so many good players. Kane Smith from Bournemouth, Dan Sweeney from Forest Green, Max Clark from Rochdale, Jordan Roberts from Motherwell. Just missed out in 9th place. And in 8th, a man we've interviewed on the channel, Gary McSheffrey, just missing out with Doncaster Rovers, who you'll no doubt have in the top 7. But I've got them missing out at the expense of another of the League One relegated sides, which is Gillingham. A big turnover of players for Neil Harris this summer. Another manager I've got a lot of respect for. They've got a strong League Two group, but have to improve in front of goal. That's my worry, is will they score enough goals? Cashket and Mandron didn't have great seasons for Crewe, but they've come across them with the right service. They could be in the mix. If not, it will be Gary McSheffrey, who stole Hartlepool's top goal scorer, Luke Molyneux. I genuinely struggled to decide between them, but I couldn't use the coin of destiny twice. So I had to use my brain and go for Gillingham.
I've gone for our good friends at Tranmere for 7th spot. Obviously, they lost Jay Spearin. He's gone back to Liverpool. Weirdly.
Under 23s, yeah.
Yeah, weirdly. So a big experience has gone there, but it brought a bit of youth in. And obviously, I think they can get behind it. They're not silly over at Tranmere. We got a lot of respect for them.
He's done it before, Mickey Mellon.
He's done it before. It's double promotion with them. So he's done it before. He's got that playoff experience twice. So you never know. They could sneak it in. They just need to be a bit more consistent this season. They're dipping in form throughout last season. So I'm going for Tranmere in 7th. 6th.
Well, 6th on the final day, sneaking into the playoffs and relegating Colchester in the process by the sounds of your fixture computer, is Mansfield Town. It's now or never time for Mansfield, in my opinion. They did so well to climb back up the league last season, finally breaking that hurdle of being predicted for the top 7 every single year and dramatically failing every single year. They've got a wonderful manager in Nigel Clough, but they crumbled at Wembley. There's no other way of saying it. And with the side they've got and the experience they've got, is probably the thing you would have expected least. So I'm going for them to finish 1 place higher than last year. It's probably the last year at first team level for a number of those experienced players before they have to have a big transition in their squad. They've added a few other players in, Hiram Boateng from MK Dons, Christy Pym in goal from Peterborough, and a couple of good youngsters on loan from Forest. So I think it has to be Mansfield's season, and I'm going for them to be in the top 7 again. Whether they can go any higher probably depends on what they do in the last month of the window.
I've gone for Stockport.
Wow.
Dave Challenger's done a wonderful job. Stockport done very well last season, winning the league. They beat Bolton in that time in the FA Cup.
What a game that was.
That was a great game. Look, they're buried after 15 minutes. But no, they there's something about Stockport. They seem to have a budget. And I don't know where this budget comes from, because they did not Edgeley Park a lot. I just feel like they've got a bit of budget there, got a bit of money. It looks like they had a bit of money in obviously at the club. Ante Sarcevic, we've interviewed on the channel, obviously very experienced player, knows promotions as well. They've got a very good core of players. I think it'd be a good season for Stockport. I really do. So they'll be very happy for 6th spot. 5th.
In 5th place, I'm going to make the same mistake as last year, although not quite as high. I've gone for Leyton Orient. They were big disappointments last season. We thought with the signings they've made and with Kenny Jackett in, they were going to do really well. They started brilliantly for 6 or 7 games and then just fell down the league. Richie Wellens came in and steadied the ship after a disastrous start for him at Doncaster, who obviously he'll come up against this year. And they've added some real stardust this summer. One of the players we know very well in George Moncur, who what he's doing at League 2 level, I don't know. Theo Archibald is another one who can do really well at this level too. They had a top 7 defensive record last year. They're the 7th best defence in the league. They've added real creativity. They've added a set piece specialist. And I think that's going to be enough to put them in the top 7. If both strikers can add to the 13 goals they got in the league last year with the increased supply line, I think they'll be in there. 5th place Orient, I think they'll make it relatively comfortably.
5th place for me, I think this is a mistake. I'll be brutally honest. But I've gone for Swindon. Forgetting that the manager went to Charlton. Half the players have gone down to Charlton.
Only three.
Only 3 for now? For now,
yes. That's the key word.
Has Harry McCurdy left yet?
He hasn't.
That's good. So that's why they're going to make the playoffs. At the time of recording, on the 20th of July, Harry McCurdy is going to get Swindon back into the playoffs. I have full faith in that. He was obviously linked with Luton. Maybe that was just transfer gossip. I know the only gossip was he went on holiday with the Luton players. Obviously done well in the playoffs. Obviously missed a penalty in the semi-final, I believe. But looks very solid player. It was his assistant manager took over, didn't he? At Swindon. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. If he gets the same style of play that he had, or what Ben Garner had, they'll be back there in the playoffs. So
4th place is the highest of the relegated sides from last year I'm going for. And that is AFC Wimbledon. Now managed by Johnny Jackson. They have one job this season, which is to turn draws into wins. So they won the least games in League One last year with 6, drew 19 matches, which ultimately cost them their place. They've added experience at the back, which they needed to improve their defensive record. Alex Pearce from Millwall and Chris Gunter, who was at Charlton, obviously with Jackson. They've added Carl Hudlin on loan up front, the 6'8", 6'9" man, however tall he is, from Huddersfield on loan after he joined from Solihull Moors. And young Josh Davison, who had a loan spell at Swindon last year and looked really good. I've got a feeling he's going to be one of the top scorers in the league this year. They've lost a couple of big players. Obviously, they never really recovered from losing Pigott. Redoni's gone now to Huddersfield as well. Another big loss. I do wonder if maybe he'll end up going back on loan because obviously there's that link now with Hudlin. But I'm going to say Wimbledon 4th. It was really tight for me between 3rd and 4th, but I'm just going for Wimbledon to miss out on the top 3.
I've gone for Northampton in 4th.
Again. Heartbreak again.
Only one reason why, and we both know we're going to bit up our Luton bias hats on. Super Danny Hilton, if he stays fit, he'll be on a run. We know how good Danny Hilton is, and I'm happy that he scored in the Championship last season with 4. If he gets on 4, I don't know how he's in League 2. I'm surprised he went to Northampton League 2. Maybe just didn't want to
stay local, isn't it?
Stay local, yeah. It's not that far up the road, not Luton to Northampton. Yeah, Danny Hilton will score goals. I worry with Northampton. End of last season, how they were there. They'd done their job, and then another team blew it for them. And it's not Bristol Rovers. I'm not blaming Bristol Rovers. They did what they had to do.
It's Scunthorpe.
It's Scunthorpe. Scunthorpe let Northampton down. But if it's how they bounce back from that. Obviously, they didn't do well in the playoffs. They were pretty poor in the playoffs. Yeah, I'm going for them for being in the playoffs again this season. Who do you think will win the playoffs, though? So you've got Wimbledon v Gillingham and Leyton Orient v Mansfield.
I think the winner comes from my middle game, Orient v Mansfield. So Wimbledon versus Gillingham, I'll go for Wimbledon to get through. Mansfield v Orient is tough. Everything wants me to go for Orient because I had them up there last year. I'd love to see George Moncur score the free kick at Wembley that gets them up.
He's already scored a free kick in the friendly.
I know, I saw it. It's brilliant. But I'm going to go for Mansfield. Look, they've got to right the wrong of last year. Nigel Clough will not let that happen again. And as I mentioned, it's their last chance. So Mansfield have to do it. If they don't do it this year, I'm not putting them in my top 7 next year. I'm not letting it happen again. I'm going for Mansfield to beat Orient on penalties in the semi-final and then go to the final at Wembley and just nick it above AFC Wimbledon.
Right, so I've got Northampton v Tranmere and Swindon v Stockport.
We've got to go Northampton Tranmere if that happens.
Oh, that'd be great. We're doing that. But I'm going to go Northampton to beat Tranmere and Stockport to beat Swindon.
Okay.
So it'd be a Northampton Stockport final. I'm going to go for Northampton to sneak it. Right, let's get to the top three. Last season, how the top three ended was very controversial. League title was decided that day, and the final promotion spot was decided in the weirdest way ever. So who you got for third?
Well, I think you're going to be given a clue by me saying I need to have time to have a chat with our audience now, Craig, because last season we had a bit of a debate on here, didn't we? And we took a bit of abuse for the first time since we made this channel from a certain fan base, a club I actually have a real soft spot for. I'm going for Bradford City. I didn't put them in the top 7 last year because they hadn't improved enough. Neither of us were convinced about the Derek Adams move, and we were proven right. They were mid-table, they were poor, and they never really looked like going up. They drew far too many games. This season, it is a very, very different story. And to be fair, Bradford, when they're on form, when they're doing well, will be the biggest supported club in the division. They're a massive club. They shouldn't be in League Two. It's a crime that they're at that level. The fans have to get behind Mark Hughes, as the board seem to have this summer. They've got virtually a whole new squad of players. A couple of the outs did surprise me, Callum Cook being one of them, but they've really strengthened overall. It's the old age question. How quick do they gel? I'm going to go for my prediction with Bradford, similar to Bristol Rovers last year, similar to Bolton the year before. Start poorly, then fly up the league second half of the season. They'll get up into the top 3. Bradford City in third place, and take aside the stick we took last year, from a club point of view, the size, the reputation and the fan base, deservedly so. Bradford back in League One.
It's funny you should mention it. I've also gone for Bradford City to finish third.
At least you don't have to explain it now.
No, yeah, you pretty much nailed it there. Big club, big manager. Obviously, he's got a lot of Premier League experience in mostly Mark Hughes. It'd be embarrassing for me if he doesn't make the playoffs. Embarrassing.
After this summer of investment.
He was a Wales manager, obviously before his club football management, but he's managed internationally. He managed the top. He was so close to taking them to Euro 2004. So, and obviously done well with Blackburn, did okay at Man City, and then he started the decline. I'll be brutally honest, but did all right when he first started. I think he just get obviously they were safe, just get feel for the club and all that stuff. Don't have Dion Pereira anymore on loan, so
he'll go back. I reckon.
I don't think he will. I think he'll go League One. But yeah, that's why I'm at Bradford, big club. They have to be challenging at least. But I'm going to go for them for third. Now, second place. Let's go for that.
Well, I've gone for a team you had much lower down. I've gone for a team that are the bookies' favourites to win the league, and I've gone for a team who are newly promoted from the National League. And I think this just shows how strong the National League is. And if the team we expect to come up from the National League do, I'll probably be doing the same again next year. I'm going for Stockport in second place. You mentioned it. The budget they've got, the players they're bringing in, and the squad they already had is exceptional. Callum Camps from Fleetwood is probably one of their star players from a lower League One side last year. Fraser Horsfall was a key man at the back for Northampton in a team that almost won promotion from League Two last year. They've signed him. They mid-season last season, you mentioned it, signed Anthony Sarcevic, who the year before had captained Bolton to League Two promotion. He's now in the Stockport squad, and I think he's going to be involved in the same promotion battle again. Dave Shallen, as a club legend, came back and did an absolutely wonderful job. Edgeley Park was almost full every week towards the end of the season. It will be full every week in League Two. You can bet your bottom dollar for that. And look, we say as a joke, but from interviewing Sarcevic, you get the feeling of the type of character that Challoner gets at the club, and he's got the right people in. There's still experience there. Paddy Madden's still about. There's so much quality in the club. I don't see how they're not in the mix, and I'm going for them in second place. But my top 4 is pretty close, so anywhere from second to fourth.
I've gone for Gillingham for second place because it's Neil Harris. He's got a new squad. It's his squad. He hated his squad last season.
He said it enough times, didn't he?
He said it enough times. So he's cleared that out. He's got his own players that he knows. Well, I say he knows who the type of players he will probably want to play football with, be a bit more direct. So I expect them to be up there just by his experience. And what the clubs he's been at, he's done well. Imagine what Cardiff, he took him to the playoffs when you probably didn't expect him to make the playoffs. And then obviously with Millwall, done brilliantly well with Millwall. I expect him to be challenging again this season. But yeah, Gillingham second place. Right, so who have you got to win League Two?
In top spot, and this is controversial and potentially very stupid. And I'm proving again this week that bias is very much on my side. I've gone for Northampton Town to win the league. They had the best defence in the league last year. They then lost their goalkeeper to Middlesbrough. They lost Fraser Horsfall to Stockport, who I've just put in second. But they have signed really good replacements. John Brady is another one who proved me wrong a little bit as a coach, has done really well. Lee Burge from Sunderland, able replacement in goal. Ben Fox from Grimsby, superstar in the playoffs and in the latter stages of Grimsby's season last year, will be a rock in midfield. Ryan Haynes adds real quality out wide. Danny Hilton, look, 2 months ago, take aside the fact that we're Luton fans, he was starting a championship playoff semi-final. So we've got to put perspective here. This is a top quality signing. They look great in the pre-season game I went to watch last week against Luton Town. The only issue is they've got a new young centre-half partnership. And from the best defence last year, is that going to go? Is that going to take time to coach to get to the same standard? The experienced keeper behind might help out. That's my only worry. But Northampton, purely on the quality they've added, despite losing a couple of key players, I'm going to go for them to win the league.
I've gone for Doncaster Rovers. Maybe I'm just being a bit pious and picking someone that we've actually interviewed on the show, but
I don't know. They're unbeaten in pre-season. They've played multiple championship clubs. They're Nick Hartlepool's top scorer from last year. It's a good shout. I don't think it's a mile off. And we're doing this with 5 weeks to go, aren't we? They're 2 or 3 signings. Doncaster could look phenomenal.
Yeah, so Alan Long from Wigan.
Yeah.
Beat Huddersfield as well. Looks like a good Huddersfield team at the time. I don't think they'll be flashing, but I think they'll be fine, steady, disciplined, but get the points to win the league. So that's why I've pretty much gone for Doncaster. And let's have a quick recap what we've just predicted, what we have predicted for League Two. So Danny Crow's gone for Northampton to win League Two, with Stockport and Bradford to be promoted automatically. I've gone for Doncaster to win it, with Gillingham and Bradford in third place. In the playoffs, Danny Crow's gone for AFC Wimbledon, Leyton Orient, Mansfield and Gillingham, with Mansfield winning the playoffs. I've gone for Northampton, Swindon, Stockport and Tranmere, with Northampton winning the playoffs. And the bottom two, Danny Coe's gone for Colchester United by a coin toss and Barrow in 24th. I've gone for Harrogate and Rochdale. And those are predictions for League Two for 22-23 season. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comments and give us your predictions of the top three, the playoff four and the bottom two. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can be a member of this channel by clicking the join button down below. You can follow us on Twitter at Honest Football Free, and we'll see you next time.